After getting a whole bunch of projects done around the barn, I decided it's time to start working on this 45-degree road in this portion of the city. After cleaning the table off real quick, I went ahead and got started trying to rough up my roadway, because that is the whole reason I'm doing this entire area, so I could have two roads come together at a 45-degree angle. And there are several ways of doing it, but I'm trying it in a manner and fashion I've never seen anybody else do. Now, with the roads kind of roughed in, we're going to start working on filling in this little triangular area there, and also putting the sides on either side of the streets. I also want to point out, to do this, I am cutting a lot of base plates, and I'm using off-brand plates because I didn't want to tear up a bunch of official plates. But to quickly explain how I actually cut the base plates, let me show you how I do it. There's two ways to do it. You can take a plate and you can line the plates up onto the base plate, whatever angle or straight or however you want to do it. Or you can do it the way I'm going to show you here, which is I just have a nice metal straight edge. I'm going to line it up straight across the base plate, the angle that I'm looking for, and the angle is a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to take my razor knife, box cutter, whatever you prefer to call it, and just score the surface a couple times. You don't actually have to cut it all the way through. If you just score it, say 2 or 3 times, once you've scored it, you can lift up the base plate and just fold it, and it'll break right in half for you. Anyway, I'm going to start by installing this little piece that I made here and putting it up and against the end of the road so I can get everything lined up and make sure it's going to fit correctly. Pretty happy with how that looks. So now I'm going to start building the edge lines. To do the edge lines, I'm using dark blue gray brick, and then I'm doing a row of white plates, and then a row of dark bluish gray plates, and then I'm putting 1x2 Technic bricks with 2 holes on them on the back side to hold those edge lines in place. And this gives me a much more realistic looking road all the way down the entire side, and placing the other side on that one as well. And now we're going to put the crosswalk in here at the end of the street to make sure everything's going to line up well. And I have to say, this is looking really good. Now we can place some of those plates that we had cut just a little bit ago to get an overall feel and look of how this table is going to turn out. Overall, I think this is looking great, and this is going to be so easy to build on because we have this nice line that I can just plate everything up to on either side of it, and it should fill in rather easily. Now, another question I know some people have in mind is with the train tracks. How am I going to run train tracks now on and around the table over there? I won't be able to attach it anywhere. And keep in mind, to me, it's not that big of a deal if the tracks are not attached to the table. But here's the neat thing about me doing everything the way that I'm doing it, and by having these base plates over here at a 45-degree angle to these base plates. All I had to do was add 2 curved train track pieces, which gives me a 45-degree turn, and then I can add these straight train tracks right across the road. So this is going to allow me to actually fasten the train tracks to the plates on this side of the table, but it's also going to allow me to come across this particular road at a perfectly 90-degree angle, so that way it's easy to tile in and fill in. But when you get back and look at it, you can see all these crazy angles kind of going on, so it gives you a really unique look and feel. And I think it's going to look really cool putting some buildings on the table. Now, I'm also looking at adding a switch track here and then bringing some track up over here so I could possibly put in another factory. And let's actually see what that would look like. I tell you what, I think that's going to work out really well. And again, it's going to make for some really cool looking angles when I start getting some of the buildings and stuff placed into this part of the city. Now, I want to quickly touch on something because everybody always asks me, where did you get this metal track? And why doesn't the ballast plates that I'm using match the track? So to answer question number 1, the track that I used is retired 9-volt Lego track. This stuff was retired in 2004. For a very short time, they did sell it in dark blue gray, but all the retired track that I have is in the old dark gray. And as far as the ballast plates that you see, all the ballast plates you see me using in my videos, these are all available for sale on my website. So if you're wondering where I get them, they are my product and they are available on bevansbricks.com. And these are made to match the new Lego train tracks that are dark blue gray. I do want to point out though, I tried to get the color as close as possible, but it is not an exact match. Once you tile this in though, even with my old tracks, it is really hard to notice any difference in color. But again, because I know it bothers some people if it's not an exact 100% match, and it is not, so I just want to make that note. On the back of the table, as we start to run the track, this is where official Lego track becomes a nightmare. And here's what I mean. In order for me to bring this track line all the way down to attach to this track line, because I started doing 45-degree angles, and I'm even doing a 45-degree turn here with official Lego pieces, you need to start getting down into where you have, for example, this is an 8-stud gap, or a 4-stud gap, or a 2-stud gap, and this is when you got to start custom making pieces that'll go in here. So for example, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is an 8-stud gap in order to connect this all back together. So I'm going to have to cut one of these and make it a custom piece in order to fill that gap. Now the thing is, until I get more fill back here, get some buildings back here and get the road and a few other things going, I don't want to worry about making that piece just yet, because I may even change where I bring the track down and around. But this just gives you an example of some of the problems you can have when doing official Lego train tracks. And if I do end up making a custom piece, I will show you exactly how I do it. I can tell you if I do it, I will be cutting an official modern Lego train track piece to do that little fill. But what I would do to make it 9-volt is I would use the trick where you apply some of the copper tape to the top side of it, and then it works just like this track does. But just to have some quick fun, let's force the track together, and let's just see if we can even get the train to make a loop around the track. I've always wanted to have a really big train loop, and that has been my goal with this city display, is seeing if it's possible. And so far, it looks like it is working great. So hopefully in the next city update, I will have something to do with that track, and maybe I can start at least covering some of the area over here. But I really want to get a car dealership, a factory, and a few other things going on, so I can get a better idea of how I want this area to shape up. Real quick sneak peek at a building I'm looking at doing for this area for the factory, but more on that in another video. Anyway, that is all for this video, guys, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bevan's Bricks.